One of the most popular videos on this channel, it breaks down the 5 stages of marriage recovery that you go through to win your wife back. Stages that you must know in order to win your wife back. But here's what most men miss. You see, your wife is also going through her own predictable stages toward recovery as well. And when you don't understand where she is along that journey, you will unknowingly push her further away, back down to stage 1. But when you recognize what stage she's in and understand that, you'll know exactly what steps to take to move her forward on the journey back to you as well to save your marriage. She will end up trusting your changes faster. She will let go of the past as well. And the most important thing is that there will be a clear path to have her fall back in love with you again. My name is Josh Hudson. I'm a licensed therapist who found a more effective way to save a marriage than traditional marriage therapy. And my goal on this channel is to teach men the skills they need to keep their marriage together and thriving. Today, you are going to discover all 5 stages that she goes to. I'm going to show you what she's thinking at each stage, how she's feeling, the biggest mistake that so many men make at each stage that keeps them there or pushes her back, and then the exact action you must take at each stage to progress her back towards marriage salvation. And I want to make sure you stick to the very end of the video because at the very end, I will give you the exact resource for your own 5 stages that you must understand. So let's jump into the first stage for her, which I call love lockdown. Now, I call this stage love lockdown because ultimately she goes more into apathy, right? That her heart is completely guarded. Right? That's why it's called love lockdown. In this beginning stage, if you are here with her, she often thinks, you know what? I just need space. The thought of the marriage with you in general, it just brings her more pain than anything else. She thinks to herself, I just can't be around him anymore. Now, a perfect analogy of divorce that really made sense to me when I first heard it was that divorce is like surgery. And oftentimes when a woman is in stage 1, she's at the place where, you know what, she needs to get divorce surgery, right? To separate the marriage. You see, no one wants to go into surgery. They look for alternative solutions for years, sometimes months before deciding to go into surgery because surgery is damaging, it's costly, no one really wants to do it. There's a lot of risk involved. But ultimately, when she's in stage 1, she's like, you know what, I exhausted all my options. I yelled at him for years. I tried to show him signs. I pulled away physically. And at this stage, she's just completely given up. She's protected her heart so much that the emotions she's feeling currently is that she's numb and she's apathetic. There's actually a word called anhedonia, if you want to look that up. Anhedonia is basically the feeling of no feeling, right? It's just complete blank. And this is the part where, you know, if I'm going from yelling at you and trying to fight for the marriage and being angry at you and spewing her venom, that is better than just nothing, right? She's given up, it's over. And unfortunately, a lot of men, when they get to this stage, they think it's getting better because she stops fighting as much. But in reality, when she's here, it's pretty much over with. Another unfortunate thing when it comes to the biggest mistake men make here is that this is usually the time when men start to take action. She says something or does something, whether she moves out, she says, I'm no longer in love with you. Even if she moved out to another house or a different bedroom, whatever the phase was, a lot of guys realize, oh crap, she's actually serious this time. And then they start to take action. But unfortunately, because now that she's being the distancer before she was trying to pursue and make it work, and you start chasing, that's just going to amplify her distance. See, as the man in a natural paradigm of a relationship, you need to be attracting her. Your energy, your presence, your respect, your leadership, that should be a magnet to draw her in. But because you've been doing the opposite traits for so long and you made her feel so disconnected, what's actually happened here is that as soon as she pulls away, you feel the loss and you start pursuing. But to her, that flips this natural polarity on its head, where you're more in the feminine state, trying to reach for connection more than her. Okay, and as you do that, most wives are already avoidance by themselves anyways, it just causes her to feel even more unsafe when you're naturally pushing and try to fix things now she's finally done, and it builds up her resentment even more. So the biggest mistake you can make is to actually try to pursue and fix the relationship when she's at this stage. I know it sounds illogical and almost crazy that like, oh, well, I shouldn't try to fix it at this stage, but yes, because you need to create space right now. There's nothing you can literally do when she's in this stage, but no matter what right words I gave you or actions, that's going to cause her to just flip the switch and be like, you know what? Okay, I'll give you another shot. Right? It rarely ever happens when she's at the stage of the love lockdown. So even though it sounds completely backwards, there is an opportunity here. You know, in this space that you were going to give her, you're then going to focus on yourself. You're going to examine the relationship, see how did it fall apart? What are the behaviors in myself that actually led to this? This is one of the hardest steps that so many men fail to actually take that leads towards success. And I'm going to give you the best resource in the world to be able to fast track your ability to understand exactly what behaviors in yourself did push her away, but you must give her space. I know every part of you is screaming that she's my best friend, I don't want to fail in the marriage, but if I give her space, what if she finds someone else? I'm telling you, through thousands and thousands of iterations, you must, as hard as it is, don't reach out to her. Let her come to you, okay? You must start, even if everything inside of you is screaming to find an excuse to reach out to her about anything. Try your best to create as much space as possible. It doesn't mean you don't care. And in actuality, if she's taking space from you, it shows you care because you're allowing that space for her to heal. And if you saw yourself as a valuable man, you would recognize that actually pulling yourself away, she will miss you. However, if you feel like you need to chase her, you're just confirming in her mind that you are low value. Okay, so when you take enough space, we've seen this countless of times, and you do the work, what happens is the next thing you must do is actually go into the process of forgiveness. And here's the reason why this is so important, how it benefits you. Because let's just say, for example, you gave her space and she came back to you, but you never forgave her or yourself for the things that have happened. You're going to harbor some negative feelings and some resentment that you've been pushing away because you were in so much anxiety. Anxiety was the forefront emotion that was in your day-to-day life. You were nervous, you were anxious, you were racking your mind about ways to fix things that you didn't process, that you actually had a sense of betrayal after what happened. And when you feel safe enough, when she comes back, the anxiety is going to go away, but what's going to surface? Your resentment, your anger, your hurt. What's going to happen is as soon as that resentment comes to the surface, you're going to self-sabotage. You're going to do and say things out of anger, out of hurt, and it's going to push her away all over again. And this time you may not have another chance to make it work.
And then you give space. And if you do that, space is your friend. And I didn't ever think space would be my friend. And I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah, speak to that a little bit more. Like, some guys, when you say that, like, that, I know they're going to get in their head thinking, how much space, when, what does space mean, right? So can you speak more to that?
Yeah, like I can't remember, but it was a while back because I go on Linda's calls, the open calls, and I remember there was a day, can't remember, she got mad at, validated, went to get some body work done, came back, I could see she was a little bit calmer, went to give her a hug and say, hey, you want to take a walk? She was like, no, she was a little distant, gave me that like, that sort of whatever look. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go for a walk. I left for a walk. The thing I realized at that time, if this was before this program, I would have been stressed out trying to figure out how do I make her happy again. I didn't give a shit. I went there and I had my walk and I enjoyed my walk. I liked looking at the water, didn't even think about it. I get halfway through the walk because it's like a loop. It's called Brickell Key. And I'm halfway through the loop and she's like, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm walking Brickell Key. She's like, well, I'm coming. Mimi, which way you going? You going north or south? I'm going north. Okay, I know exactly. I'll meet you halfway.
Now, much like Robert and a lot of the other guys you're going to see in this video, the quickest way to understand your behaviors, to reach to the place of actual full forgiveness, the quickest way possible, which speed is extremely important, you must have urgency in this stage, is to set up a free call with our team, our marriage evaluators. On that call, we're going to highlight exactly what happened and exactly what you need to do through thousands of iterations of working with so many men in every situation to exactly win her back, okay? So if that is you, click the link down below, set up a free call with our team. You're going to fill out the application. Just make sure you're fully ready to invest in yourself and make a full change, and we got you. All right, so now that enough space has gone by, you've done the personal work yourself. You got yourself out of this process of just being anxious, an anxious wreck, and you couldn't find peace within yourself. What's going to happen is that she is going to come back. Woman cannot help but be curious. She still wonders in the back of her mind, when you take that space, he must be doing something. She cannot help herself, okay? Women are curious kittens. She will reach out. It could be under the guise of something that is innocuous, which means that it's just like, oh, about the kids, about the money, whatever it is. But she's going to be slowly watching you. She's going to be picking up, even through the conversations of other people that are talking about you. They're going to notice your changes as well, okay? It can't be faked. So as soon as she starts to come back, what's going to happen is that she's going to go into stage 2, which is called resentment release. This is now when she feels safe enough to completely unload on you again. She's going to scream at you. She's going to call you all the worst names. She's going to say you were the worst husband ever, that you failed her. She's going to test and push every single button that you have. She'll say things like, it's over. I'm done with you. There's no chance for us to say this. But let me tell you something. It is all test. Because if she was truly done with you, just like in the first stage, she wouldn't have to say that to you. She would just simply say nothing. If it was done, it was done. So as soon as she starts saying all these things to you, the fact is that she doesn't have to, right? She can totally just ignore you and ghost you. So the fact that she's unloading on you, it is a test to see if you are able to be stable. And that's because now that she feels safe enough, she's like, okay, maybe he is changing. A part of her has hope again. So all that pain that has been there, it is going to flood out of her. And that flooding of the pain is her healing process. Imagine her just having this illness that she's been holding onto, and now she's vomiting it out. Okay, and because she sees you as the source of the pain, because you didn't protect her and lead her and guide her the way that you should have, which is okay because you didn't know, but now you do. You're going to hold space. You're going to allow her to say all these things, and you're just going to sit there and you are going to maintain eye contact and you are going to hold space. And yes, you're going to take it. Obviously, there are boundaries that you can have and language that I want you to be able to draw boundaries around. A lot of men really get stuck here because they're like, well, I don't want her to use these hurtful words towards me. I get it, but you need to look under the words, right? You need to look under the surface of what she's saying and see her pain, that this is her just being hurt. I know it may look like anger on the surface, but there's this hurt little girl just saying, hey, you let me down. And as the man, you need to see that pain and understand it and validate it back to her. Because the biggest mistake that shows her you haven't changed, that you're the same man, is you'll defend yourself. You'll be like, well, it didn't happen that way. Well, no, that's not true. I did listen at times. When a woman says you never listened to me, or you were never there, she doesn't actually mean it. It's how she feels in the moment. It is not logical. She's literally completely in her emotional brain. So of course she's going to say things that don't make logical sense, that maybe that weren't true. But this is not the time to correct her. There will be a time in which you can share your perspective and say how things really are. But when she's in the storm of these emotions, you should not try to reason with her. Hold that container and allow her to express that pain, okay? More than anything, this is showing that you have changed. When you don't react, when you don't defend, when you don't judge, when you don't criticize back, when you don't shut her down, when you don't run away. So what do you do here? But what you do is you take full accountability for your part in it. Now, a lot of guys, they really struggle with accountability because they attach responsibility and accountability with guilt and with shame. And that's not what I'm telling you to do. You can say to yourself, you know what? Through my actions, I did make you feel that way. But it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Because let's be honest, whether your intentions were good or not, your actions affected her that way, right? You are a good man and you meant the best. Like as an example, when you tried to solve her problems over the years, instead of just listening to her, you had a good intention to make her feel better. I get that. You weren't aware, but you still have to own up. Hey, I recognize that when I tried to solve all your problems, you felt unheard and unseen. That's just a fact, right? That is logical because that's how she feels. And how she feels is logical to her, okay? A good analogy that really accurately sums this up is the analogy I give often in the program, which is she is the ocean and you are the shore, which means at times when she's calm and happy and beautiful and, feminine, she can caress you, right? And softly breeze against you, massage you with her waves. But when she is emotional, she's going to crash into you. But as the masculine man that you are, you hold frame. You remain calm. You recognize that her emotions aren't yours. And she's allowed to kick and scream and be upset and unload her pain because as soon as you hold that frame, she goes back to being calm and present with you.
She felt so safe when I was able to say, here are my values. Here's how I failed to live to them in our relationship. Here's how that failure affected you. Here's how it affected both of your sons. Here's how it affected my kids. It's not your fault. I wasn't living to my values before I met you. And that was powerful. That was powerful. That was the key pivotal moment for me individually and for us in our relationship.
So as soon as you let her release all that resentment towards you enough, right? What's going to happen is the tipping scale of how she feels positively and negatively towards you is going to balance out. She's going to go into the third stage, which is the dual mind narrative. In the dual mind narrative, essentially what happens is that she has two competing stories, two competing parts in herself. There's a part of her that is in the frontal lobe, right? Her conscious self, in which she can clearly see that you're making changes logically. And she knows that, hey man, maybe there's hope, right? Because before when she was more in her amygdala, right? Kind of lower down here, she was in fear and anxiety. And now that she senses you as more of a safe base, you are actually changing. And the biggest proof of that is that you had a different response. You weren't defending yourself. You were allowing her to express those emotions. You were holding that frame. She's able to calm down a little bit more and see more rationally. But that part of her that is still wanting to protect her and seeing you as this threat, it's still there. And this causes a lot of confusion for men because what she will do is at moments she will say and do things that makes it seem like, oh, you're back to normal. She'll say, oh, let's go on this vacation together, or would you go with the kids to go do this thing? Oh, she may come back in bed and cuddle with you in the morning. She may give you a kiss. She may say, I love you. She may put her wedding ring back on. Whatever the thing is that makes you think that she's back to normal. But then the next day, the next hour, the next second, she will do or say something that shows maybe it's over. And this confuses so many men. But what you have to understand is that we have multiple parts of ourselves as human beings. Even you have this protector in yourself, right? You have this voice in your head that says, maybe she's not the one, right? You've had thoughts of doubt, of course. But at times you're like, you know what? My positive side of the scale outweighs the negative. But for her, it's 50-50. So how does she feel? She feels confused. She feels volatile. She feels exhausted. She's oscillating between these two emotions. Imagine how exhausting that is. Now, the biggest mistake that you can make is you respond to her fear with fear, and you ignore and think that those moments of her being positive towards you and finding that there was actually hope was all a lie. You see, you're literally choosing either to see the glass as half full or half empty. But the men that consistently win their wife back, they know this one secret in the stage that we teach them. They recognize that they hold the frame and they create their reality. And so the idea here is that when she responds in fear, ultimately, you hold that space and you understand something she's going through, and it's her protector. And if you were able to still hold that space, not defend yourself, see her, love her, respond to her, validate her. And then when she's positive, see, that's the truth of her. You see that the protector is this illusion, this mask, this bodyguard that's actually protecting her real authentic self. And if you see her authentic self as the one that loves you and wants to work it out, what happens is that you start putting more deposits into the emotional side of the positive perspective, and you start growing that side of her brain, and the protector starts to go away. And that's because your changes are actually legitimate, right? But when you respond in fear again, you go back to your old paradigm of reaction, of defending yourself, of shutting down, of maybe blaming her, of whatever it is. It'll just tell the protector that you haven't changed. The beauty here is that you get to choose. And so many men, they so often lean on their fear because it's our default nature, okay? But nothing tells her more that you've changed as a man when you can take her tests and see the things that she says that is going to maybe say that it's over, and just give her love in that moment, and then recognize that when she says the positive things to you, that's her truth.
She said that that I'm calm now, and that she feels comfortable around me, talking to me about different things. Before, when she would talk about relationship stuff, take as her attacking me. You're doing this, you're doing that. And I would just be real defensive about what she was saying. No, this is not what I'm trying to do. That type of thing. As opposed to now, because I'm understanding that that she's communicating differently than I am. And I would do it. It's more of a feminine type of communication style. And all she wants me to do is listen to her. And just because of that, she wants to stop the divorce. And now she's calling me her person. She's saying that that she wants it to. So
She wants to do what? Sorry to hear that last part.
she wants the marriage to do. She's actually, the divorce is actually over now, and because she stopped that.
When you're able to conduct those skills and respond to her tests appropriately, and then ultimately hold space and really respond positively and reinforce those positive changes in yourself, you're going to get to stage 4 with her, which is called the horizon test. This is when she mostly believes that you were different, that you made those changes. But there's still a lingering voice that kind of keeps her up at night and says, has he really changed? She feels hope again, but also a bit cautious. In this moment, she's going to give you one final test. It is the breadcrumb test, if you will. That's what we call it. In that she will purposely either break a boundary that you have, or there's something about her that you want her to change. And then she essentially will let you know that boundary is being broken. And then she'll say, hey, I'm going to come back to you. Or she'll want to give you full, whatever it is that you are looking for. Whether she says, I want to move back in, I want to stop seeing the affair partner, she tries to initiate sex with you, whatever it is. But you know there's this boundary that she's still not meeting or she's crossing with you. In that moment, you make the biggest mistake by allowing her to come back fully without saying or asserting that she's breaking your boundary. Now, as an example, this happens a lot. One of the guys I was working with, he was back living with his wife again, and they still haven't had intimacy, right? But she was still having this emotional contact with this affair partner, right? It was only an emotional affair, and he knew it, and she knew that he knew, okay? And then one night, they got in a big fight, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to give you space. I'm going to go sleep on the couch, okay? He took the space, okay? And later that night, she came down and tried to have sex with him on the couch. And this man wanted that moment to come for so long. But in that moment, there was a part of him that said, no, this doesn't feel right, right? She's still talking to this guy. I would be disrespecting myself if I allow myself to physically connect with her without establishing that. So he stopped her. So much of him wanted to go forward. But he said, no, I'm not having sex with you until you completely cut this guy off. And that's a perfect example of this breadcrumb test. You see, he was willing to risk losing her. And in that moment of risking losing her, he kept or saved himself. And because he put himself and his own self-esteem and worth above her approval and acceptance, she gained massive respect for him. And that's what had her fully come back. And most women will do this most of the time. It is a subconscious mechanism they use to make sure, again, that you are the man you say that you are. You have to be willing to risk losing her to keep yourself. Because what is the opposite? The opposite is what so many men have done over the years to make their wife happy. They sacrifice saying how they really feel about things. They sacrifice giving feedback to her. They sacrifice asking for what they really wanted. They sacrifice showing their vulnerability of how they really felt hurt by what she's done, because they're like, you know what, if I make this a big deal, then she'll get upset. And so many men are so uncomfortable with their wife being upset with them, shutting down, moving away. And it's triggering a wound within yourself. Now, we help heal this wound in the program as well, so you are less reactive. But you have to recognize this is where the source of all this comes from. Now, what you do, besides passing that final test to get to stage 5, is that you consistently double down back on yourself, right? You are setting goals for yourself. You are becoming the 2.0 version of yourself. You're getting in the best shape of your life. You're setting new goals in your business, new plateaus to hit. You're striving for more. You are not settling in life. You're not getting complacent, because complacency is what led you to where you are at. Oftentimes, when couples grow apart, it's not so much that you guys became different people. At times, yes, that is a possibility. But you stopped showing the inherent traits in yourself that really drew her to you in the first place. You got comfortable. And I don't blame you for that. It's part of the human condition. When we reach certain levels of milestones, it's hard to always be uncomfortable for an extended period of time. And if you got to a level of success in your business, or you're accepting where you are in your health, and you're not pushing yourself, and you're putting energy into other domains of your life, I understand how you could fall off. I've done it so many times myself. I get it, okay? But you also have to recognize simultaneously that as a man, you must constantly strive for more. She wants to be with the top guy. Why wouldn't she? Just like you want her to be beautiful and feminine and happy, that's what turns you on. That's what makes you attracted to her. She wants to be with a guy who's on top of his game, always striving for more, growing. That makes her feel safe, okay? And so many times we see guys that come back after saving their marriage in like 4 or 5 months, and they're like, Josh, I'm still with my wife, but things have gotten a little bit worse because I stopped taking your advice and your lessons. I kind of fell off the horse. This is why our program is really unique, because we give lifelong access to our clients, right? Because we know this. We want to make sure, if my mission is to help men save their marriages, right? 1 million men. So we want to give that to guys, but I want to let you know in this process, if you reach stage 4, that you must continue going.
The module about the feminine masculine energy, it was like, I teach martial arts all day. And so it's like, I'm fucking masculine all day long when I'm on the floor teaching, but I'd come home and I wasn't. I was showing up as the nice guy, and she was having to be the masculine. Even in the aspect of running the business, we ran it together. I was very feminine in that. Like, I didn't want to step on toes. I didn't want to do this. And I wasn't ever confident in myself. It's like I had just one little shell of masculinity when I'm teaching martial arts. And other than that, it was feminine, and so understanding that push-pull dynamic, and understanding that as I show up as the leader, allows her to go back into her feminine state. And she's so fucking happy around me all the time. She's so like girly, like dancing, singing, like just, I'm like, it's almost uncomfortable. Like, I don't know this woman, because I shut her down so much in the past. That's how she was in the beginning, but I'm going like, okay, like, I just gotta, like, this isn't fake. This is just her being her, and her acting the way she wants to act. And it's because of how I'm showing up.
When you do this consistently, you will hit 5. When you do this consistently, you'll hit the 5th stage towards her recovery. This is full marriage reset. She thinks to herself, wow, this is the man I married, even better. I esteem him. I appreciate him. I admire him. Imagine her just like telling all her friends again how much you've changed. Like, I don't know who he is anymore. He's a brand new guy. Like, I'm more attracted to him than ever. Imagine her saying that to her sister, her friends, her mom, talking so positively about you all the time. And she supports you in your goals, and she wants to do things around the house for you. She's always looking for your direction. She's so submissive and happy around you, and she respects you so much. That's what you get when you reach this stage. She feels light, love. She's glowing again. She starts singing around the kitchen, dancing. She's telling her friends. She's just happy. She's glowing because of you. You made her feel that way. Through your presence, through your strength, through your growth, through your effort, okay? The biggest mistake here that guys will make in stage 5 in marriage reset is similar to 4, right? Not referring to the breadcrumb idea, but we're going back to just falling off. There are 2 types of goals that we can achieve as men. There are goals that are check marks, and there are iterative goals, okay? Check marks are things that you achieve in life, and it's done. You don't have to look at it again. Like, you build a system, it's good. right? An example of this is you reach a promotion, right? You're at this new stage, right? And you've reached that promotion, you're good. Or you got this license, right? You got the license, you're good. But iterative goals are like your body, are like a plant, or like your marriage, right? They need constant attention and love, right? They are downward escalators, okay? What happens if you just stand still on a downward escalator? You go down. You have to actively walk up consistently to make that progress. And this is the process of life. But so many men think that, okay, my wife is happy again. She's good. I don't need to do as much. So what do you do in this stage? I mean, I'll tell you what I do. I become obsessed with learning and self-development. Whether I am constantly reading a new self-development book in spirituality, business, relationship, psychology, philosophy. I'm going to a training in a couple of days with David Data, right? He does a teacher training in Florida. I do at least 2 of those a year, different trainings, right? I'm constantly setting goals. I spent thousands of dollars on a personal mastermind with other men. This journal here is a year-long mastermind planner, right? That I'm spending hours and hours on, right? At night, I journal, right? I'm setting goals in the gym. Okay, I don't tell you all this to say, like, oh, Lord, look at me. I want you to fall in love with the process of becoming the best version of yourself, okay? Make it a fun game, right? Fall in love with becoming the best version of you. Because one of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar says, it's not what you get by achieving your goals, but who you become in the process. And I want you to look back at your life. Imagine one of the final days of your life. You're looking back at everything, 90, 100 years old. How do you want to feel about your life? About who you were, what you did? I know you don't want to live with regret. I want you to look back and say, damn, I squeezed as much juice out of life as I could. I tried my absolute hardest to be the best version of myself, and I impacted so many men in what I do. That is what we create in our program, men who are like that. And that's what keeps her looking up to you, admiring you, loving you daily, because you are constantly growing and changing as a man. You're getting better and better and better, okay? And that's the man I want you to become. Again, if you need help with that, set up a call with our team. Here's that video on the 5 stages for men. And I talked about tests as well. One of the best videos on the channel about how to pass tests is this video right here. So I want you to check those 2 videos out yourself. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.